Get the hell off this property. Funny, I bought this house. Imagine buying your dream house. You sign every paper and hold the keys, only to return a few weeks later. You find another family living comfortably inside the home you just bought. They are living there like they own the place, with paperwork they swear is real. That is exactly what happened to Marcus Thorne. He was a hard-working man who fought for the life he had finally built. But it was snatched away by a woman who believed her clipboard made her queen. The worst part, she sold his house without him ever knowing. Today, she was about to learn a harsh lesson. She picked the wrong man, the wrong home, and the wrong lie to hide behind. Marcus Thorne had been waiting weeks for this exact day. He had just closed on his first home, a clean one-story property on a quiet road in Whispering Oaks Estate. He spent time finishing a final contract at work. He gathered everything he needed before officially moving into his Cary, North Carolina home. The deed was signed and the payments were processed. The keys were tucked safely in his pocket. Everything about the purchase was legitimate, authenticated, and verified. Today was supposed to be simple. He would pull into his driveway and unlock his own door. He would step into the future he had worked years to earn. Instead, the moment his car rolled up to the curb, his excitement twisted into confusion. There was a minivan parked in his driveway. Children's bicycles lay on the grass. A doormat he had never seen sat on the porch. Light flickered through the living room curtains. Curtains he did not own. Marcus dragged his suitcase out of the trunk, his heart thudding. Maybe the realtor mixed up a lockbox. Maybe contractors were still doing work. He reached the porch. A woman he had never seen opened the door with a startled gasp. Two kids, Sophie and Jack, peeked from behind her legs. She clutched a set of keys. His keys? "Can I help you?" Marcus took a deep breath. "Yeah, this is my house." Emily Mitchell's face drained of color. Her husband, David Mitchell, appeared behind her, holding some paperwork. "This home was sold to us 3 weeks ago. We finalized everything with the HOA president." She handled the transfer personally. That title chilled him instantly. Susan Abernathy. She was the woman who ran the Whispering Oaks HOA like her own personal kingdom. Before he could respond, the family hurriedly called her, whispering into the phone. Not 3 minutes later, a white SUV screeched to a stop. Susan climbed out with her clipboard hugged to her chest. Her chin was raised high like she owned the street. The second she saw Marcus, her expression curdled. "You again. I already told these homeowners someone like you couldn't possibly own this property." "Stop harassing this family." Marcus stiffened. "I bought this home. Legally. Save it. You people always try this nonsense. Officers will handle you." She pulled out her phone and aggressively dialed 911. She loudly reported an intruder who was refusing to leave. The Mitchell family looked overwhelmed and confused. They were clearly terrified of crossing her. Have you ever bought something fair and square, only to have someone try to steal it right out from under you? What would you do if you showed up to your new home and another family was already inside? Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where our viewers are tuning in from. And if you believe no one should lose their home because of a racist HOA scammer, smash that like button. Subscribe to Karen Conflict for stories that put fraudsters exactly where they belong. Marcus stood his ground as distant sirens grew louder. 2 police cruisers turned onto the street. Their lights cut through the afternoon calm. With that, the confrontation truly began. The first cruiser stopped at the curb, and 2 officers stepped out. One was a tall, broad-shouldered man with a calm posture, Officer Thomas Hayes. The other was a woman scanning the scene, Officer Jessica Evans. Susan rushed toward them before they even reached the walkway. "Officers, thank goodness you're here. That man is trespassing and threatening these innocent homeowners. He refuses to leave. She pointed straight at Marcus as if he were a wild animal. The officers turned to Marcus. Officer Evans spoke first. "Sir, we need to understand what's happening. Do you live here?" Marcus lifted his hand slightly in a peaceful gesture. "Yes, my name is Marcus Thorne. I purchased this property weeks ago. Today is my move-in day. I don't know who these people are or how they got inside." Susan scoffed loudly. "Listen to him. He is just making things up as he goes. This house was abandoned. As HOA president, I handled the sale. These folks bought it fair and square." The Mitchell family did not look so sure anymore. David Mitchell cleared his throat nervously. "We were told the previous owner forfeited the home. We paid in full. She showed us all the paperwork." Officer Hayes stepped closer to Marcus. "Do you have proof of ownership ID?" "Documents." Marcus nodded, pulling out a folder he had prepared during closing. It contained the original deed, transfer confirmations, and copies of bank wires. He also had the official county-stamped purchase record. He handed everything over calmly. The officers examined the papers. They flipped through dates, signatures, and official seals. Susan rolled her eyes. "Those are fake, obviously. Ma'am, let us do our job." Officer Evans shot her a sharp glance. Next, the papers from the Mitchell family were carefully reviewed. They had handwritten signatures that did not match any official formatting. There was no county seal. The transfer letter was printed on generic paper with an HOA header instead of proper government documentation. Officer Hayes's brow furrowed. "Where did you get these documents?" "She gave them to us." Both officers turned to Susan. Her posture instantly stiffened. "I facilitated the sale because the property was vacant. It's part of my authority as HOA president." "No, it's not," Officer Evans replied flatly. The tension shifted instantly. The Mitchell family stepped back. Their eyes widened as the realization finally hit them. They had been scammed. Susan's voice cracked. "This is ridiculous. He's lying. They're lying. Everyone's lying except me." The officers exchanged one final look. Then Officer Hayes spoke. "Ma'am, don't go anywhere. We're going to need backup." Susan's face began to twitch. She took a small step backward. Her breath quickened as the officers moved slightly to flank her. Officer Hayes lifted his radio to call for a fraud unit. The moment he released the button, Susan pivoted sharply toward her SUV. "Nope," Marcus muttered, stepping forward as she tried to bolt down the walkway. "Ma'am, stop." But Susan ignored the order. With her clipboard clutched under her arm, she sprinted. She had the frantic wobble of someone who had never run a day in her life. Marcus reacted on instinct. He intercepted her just before she reached the driver's door. She jerked back, startled. "Get out of my way. I'm the HOA president. I can do whatever I want," she shrieked, swinging her clipboard wildly. "Not today," Marcus replied, gripping her wrist just as she tried to shove him aside. The officers closed in instantly. Officer Hayes grabbed her other arm. He twisted it gently but firmly behind her back. Officer Evans snapped handcuffs around her wrists. Susan let out a piercing scream. "This is harassment. I'm protecting community standards. He's the one trespassing. Arrest him." Neither officer paid attention to her theatrics now. David Mitchell stepped forward. He was clutching the fraudulent documents. "Officer, we paid her our entire savings. Are you saying none of this is real?" Officer Evans nodded solemnly. "I'm afraid so. These are not legal transfer documents. You were misled." Emily Mitchell lowered herself onto the porch step. Tears were streaking down her face as she hugged Sophie and Jack. "We didn't know. We trusted her." Marcus exhaled. Anger and sympathy were mixing in his chest. "None of this is your fault. You were targeted just like I was." Susan continued to thrash until the officers guided her firmly toward the cruiser. Her voice cracked as she screamed. You all should thank me. I was keeping this place safe. In fact, this community deserves better than him. Enough. Officer Hayes snapped. She fell silent for the very first time. Backup finally arrived. Another cruiser pulled up to the scene. It brought Detective Robert Vance, who began separating everyone for statements. Marcus provided every piece of documentation he had. He gave a timeline of when he purchased the home and why he delayed moving in. The Mitchell family provided their receipts. They handed over messages from Susan and even gave police access to their emails. Detective Vaughn studied the evidence carefully. This isn't just a misunderstanding. This looks deliberate. Susan, sitting cuffed in the back of the cruiser, froze instantly. And I have a strong feeling that this isn't her first time. Detective Vance wasted no time at all. While officers kept Susan restrained, he requested access to the HOA office records. Two neighbors quickly pointed the officers toward a small building. It was behind the community pool where Susan kept files only she was qualified to manage. Officers returned with boxes of Susan's files. They revealed forged letters, fake notices, and lists of targeted homeowners. Detective Vance skimmed through it. He confirmed she had built an organized scam using falsified debts, violations, and abandonment claims. The Mitchell family looked utterly devastated. She did this deliberately. For a long time, Detective Vance replied. Two officers stepped aside. County records matched Marcus's deed exactly. The sale was fraudulent and would be completely voided. Sir, this house is yours. You'll get full access once we're done, Officer Hayes said, handing back his documents. Relief washed through Marcus. He felt anger for what the family had suffered, but Detective Vance assured the Mitchells they were not at fault. The state would return their money. When officers opened the cruiser door, Susan tried one last desperate plea. You can't arrest me. I run this neighborhood. No. You ran a criminal enterprise. Detective Vance corrected her, pulling out the formal arrest form. They read her charges one by one. Real estate fraud, forgery, and fraudulent transfer of property. Identity theft and conspiracy. Her voice finally broke. Her mascara was smeared. She was completely silent. As the cruiser drove away, Marcus stood on his porch, the porch that was rightfully his. He breathed in steadily. The nightmare was finally ending. Tomorrow he would move into the home he earned. If you believe scammers like Susan deserve every consequence they face, hit that like button. Subscribe to Caring Conflict, because standing up to corruption starts with telling these stories.